Hello everyone, welcome back. The topic which we are going to discuss in this lecture is one of the important stuff. Not only in Python, as I always say, there are certain things it's very important and common all across the languages. So what was that? The one which we are going to discuss is nothing but exception handling. So exception handling, what is exception handling? When we write some programs, there are certain scenarios we can expect some exceptions or some errors in some places. There are some other places we will never aware of will get an exception in this particular area. So there are two things, known errors or unknown errors. Known errors, that means you know there will be error will be coming in this particular block of the code, and the other thing is when you run some programs, there are some issues it will come at the runtime. Okay, that is also an exception. We can simply say that's a runtime exception is the interpreter time exception or compile time exception. Okay, so one of the important thing about exception handling, there are different types of exception. So we need to know which exception or when to use. Okay, let's see what is the syntax in Python, how we are going to define a try and a exception block. Okay, so as a starting, you need to know three things. The first thing is try. So what is try? Execution, execution of code. You can simply say block of code. And except block lets you handle the exception or error. And there will be another thing which we need to know. Finally, so if any exception comes in the try block, the program automatically move to the exception block and it will send the error message, throw back the error message. So I didn't get any error message in try, so it will successfully executed. But why do we need a finally? Finally, this is a block lets you execute the code whether you're getting exception or not. That means you can simply say finally block will always execute. Doesn't matter whether it has an exception or not. Okay. You can simply say it always execute. Okay. Let's try with a simple script. Okay. Let me create a new file, or let me create a new folder. Not here. Here. Exception handling. So under the exception handling, I'm going to create a new file. Okay, what happened? Okay. Under the exception, I'm going to create a simple exception script dot py. So what is the syntax? Try and execute something here, or some code and accept exception. This is the simple syntax of the try and the catch. Okay, let's assume any known issues. We all know anything by 0, it's infinity, right? That is mathematically not possible. If you want, let's open the calc and try 10 divided by 0. Cannot divide by 0. This is an exception, right? So let's see how it is going to be handled. Okay, let's get some input. So number 1 is equal to get the input from the user, enter num1, and number 2. So let me write some code here. Result is equal to num1 divided by num2. Print the result. So here exception occurred. Okay, this is simple, right? So let's run this and we'll see what is happening. So enter the number 1. Number 1 is, let's try the positive scenario. 0, and number 2 is 10. Exception occurred. Why? Because that is what we discussed here. 0 by anything is 0. Okay, something is wrong here. Num1 not is 0 divided by 10. Okay, this is an int. I need to convert it to int first thing. Save it. So why it is exception occurred here? Because the first time I didn't convert the input as an integer, because only the numerical data can be divided, right? So or else it's considered as a string. What is string divided by string? That's not possible, right? That's an exception. Okay. Now it's a valid scenario. Okay, let's run this again. Right click and run Python. Enter number 1, 0 and 10. So 0 dot 0. That's a valid scenario. Let's run it again and we'll try some invalid scenario. That means anything by 0. So 10 divided by 0. So exception occurred. So we know what is the exception here. It is an arithmetic exception, right? The reason is number cannot divided by 0. If you run this, it will make sense. Ten, 0. So number cannot divided by 0. So because this is a known scenario, I know what could be the issue. What is the possibility of the issue? Okay, and as I said, finally. So why do we need a finally? Whether the exception occurred or not, the finally will be always executed. So let's print something here, calculation done. Right click and run Python again, enter the number one. Let's see the valid scenario. 0 divided by 10, calculation done. Finally block still executed. Let's try again. So this time 10 divided by 0. Number cannot divided by 0. Okay, and also the calculation then the finally block will be executed. Okay, so this is a simple try and catch and the finally. Okay, in the next video let's discuss about some in detail concept in the in exception handling. So let's see each other next video. Thank you.